Okay, I think I'm live. I hope I'm live. I hope everybody can see me. I was tagging a few people. Unfortunately, Facebook was being a pain again. So anyway, I hope the people who wanted to pop in today have been able to make it. And so we're here to do some tips on do-it-yourself book covers. Now, before anybody gets all upset about, oh, you should get a professional artist. Yes, you should. I agree with that. I think if you can afford a professional artist, you should definitely go the professional artist route. However, oh, and morning to Tim. Timmy's coming from Alaska. So I'm not sure what time it is there. So good morning, good afternoon, whatever it is. Oh, geez. Okay. So water on the computer keyboard. Yeah, great start for the video, isn't it? This is the hazards of live video. The host spills water over herself. And the dorkiness starts early. Anyway, getting back to what I was saying, a lot of, and hi to Christy, she's joined us. A lot of artists can't afford a professional artist because they're either starting out, they're on a really tight budget, or most of their budget goes to editing. So they try to make do with covers. And I have seen, unfortunately, a lot of rather bad covers out there in the email newsletters and on the social media. And I mean, and the covers, it's not so much that they're bad, is that they just could have been good, is really why I started going to do this video. Because I've seen covers that had potential and they were just either ruined because they didn't get the composition right, or their fonts were terrible, and small things that can be fixed. So, like I said, if you can afford a professional artist, definitely go that route. It's the better route. And but if you can't, I'm here to help. So, first of all, we'll get started on this, and we'll just turn me into a talking head here. Oops, that's not what I'm. There we go. I'm turned into a talking head now. And this is Photoshop, as you can see. At least I hope you can see. And this is the background picture we'll be working with. Now, this is something I downloaded off Pixabay. Now, we're going to talk about backgrounds and photos and things like that first. So, basically, there's two ways you can get photos when you're doing the stock photo route. You can either go to the licensed paid ones, which is like Adobe and Shutterstock, or you can do the Creative Commons Zero sites, which are like Pixabay and Unsplash and places like that. They all have their different licensing requirements and things that you need. Like Pixabay, you don't need to give attribution, but it is nice, and they do have a nice little copy and paste thing now on Pixabay that you can get a little attribution if you want to put that in the copyright page for your covers. So, but like I said, the license doesn't require it, so it's up to you. But anyway, when you're choosing your basic background, you want to have something that looks pretty, of course, but you also want to have something that's not too fussy, and the font is going to show up well on it. See, like a background like this, if you can put a white font up at the top there, it's going to show up pretty well. So you want to be careful. That's where you want to spend the most time, is picking your background picture. You want to get something good. Now, this is what we're going to start with. And I'm doing all this stuff in Photoshop, but I will be giving tips on GIMP as well. That's kind of like the free version of Photoshop. I mean, I've used GIMP in the past. I mean, I prefer Photoshop. It took a little learning curve, but I do like it. Now, because there are a few things you can do in Photoshop you cannot do in GIMP that make your life easier. But I'll be giving you as much GIMP alternatives as I do this as I can. Okay. And if you are using GIMP, I would also recommend downloading Gimmick, which is G''MIC. It's a plugin for GIMP, and it has a lot of filters and things that sort of mimic stuff I'm going to be doing on Photoshop. So recommend that. And also you will want to have the smoke brush in GIMP. I'm not sure if it comes with GIMP or if I downloaded that separately, but you'll want the smoke brush, whether or not it was a separate download or it comes with it, because I'll explain that later. Okay, so now we're going to go into Photoshop, and I'm going to talk a little bit about sizing and stuff, and then we'll get right into composite work. So I'm going to switch over to Photoshop and disappear now. I hope. Let's see. Cross your fingers and hope this works. All right, there we go. Now, let's see. Okay. Now, this kind of blocks out the comments because I have to look at Photoshop, but I'm going to try, and if you have any questions, post them. I'm going to try and see them. Okay, yeah, because I can see the time, so I should be able to figure out if new comments come in. So if I don't get to your comment right away, don't have a freak, because I'm doing this stuff and I probably haven't seen it. All right, so here we are. Now, this is, of course, not an ebook cover. This is a wide photo. And we just got to push. Oh, okay, push it. Okay, so I tend to work like this. I tend to make the print covers and then sort of size it down for ebook. So a good ebook size for your cover, I use 1600 pixels by 2500 pixels. I like that size. Print covers are going to vary depending on how big your book is and how many pages. And both Amazon and Ingram Spark have size calculators for your cover sizes. But I find if you're working on a cover, a good general size to work with is 3411 pixels by 2475 pixels. And you can resize that pretty well to whatever size you need. So anyway, now, okay. And if you are, say, working on the print and you want to size down to an ebook, nice way to do that is with the crop tool here on Photoshop. Now this, of course, won't work in GIMP, but you can just crop and resize in GIMP. So, but with the crop tool here, so you can go in, and if you see those little numbers right here, right? Well, no, of course, the little black box that's moving. At least I hope you can see you can see numbers as you resize, and you can see as it goes down, we're at 1700 pixels. Now we're into 16, so you can resize it right down to almost the right size. And well, it's a little smaller on the top here, so I can't do it. But anyway, so you get the idea. You can resize it right on there, and you can get a good resize for your ebooks. Now, so we're going to go in. Okay, and I'm going to talk one little more before we start. Okay, Pixabay tips. Now, if you are downloading free stock photos off Pixabay or a similar site, be careful what you download. You want to get something that doesn't have a visible face, because unless you want to contact the person who's uploaded the photo and see if they have a release, because not every photo on there that has a face will have a proper legal release for it. So you want to avoid visible faces, silhouettes, shadowed faces, half-turned faces, things that aren't recognizable if you're using figures are good. You also want to avoid things that have trademark items in it, because I've seen a lot of drawings and pictures and stuff of Star Wars things and stuff like that over there. You can't use those. The images in there are trademarked. They're no good. So just be careful when you're downloading from free sites. And now we're on to the composites. Now, first thing we're going to do is we're going to do a composite figure. So we're going to place embedded. That's That's how you load up a photo in Photoshop. And we're going to do this little pretty lady. It's all white. We're going to make her a little bigger. Just a little bit. And then, okay, so now you've got a lady on a white background. So you've basically got to take the white background out, right? Oops, that should be over here. Whoops, accidentally still in cropped. There we go, that's better. Okay, so in Photoshop, you can just go into quick selection and click select subject. Now it will do its little thing and you get a little selection. Okay. Okay, so we have a selection. Yeah, okay, there we go. So you see all the little movie lines on that? I'll zoom it in a little bit so you can see better. See? Now that's the selection. Now, when you have a figure like this on a white background, it's really good if you can get a figure or an object or whatever you're placing in on a white background or a light background, or if you have a lot of contrast. Because the more contrast you have between the background and the figure, the easier it is for the artificial intelligence in Photoshop to select the subject. Now, why are we selecting the subject, you asked? Because then we can just click mask and voila, the white is gone. Now, of course, let's put it back out and fit on screen. It doesn't look very good, does it? It looks kind of cut and paste. And this is what, sometimes I see on these covers that I'm trying to help with, is that it's kind of a mess. I mean, it doesn't look too bad, but it's kind of a mess. And before we go any further, if we're just going to undo that for a minute. And if you want to do this in GIMP, because it doesn't have an artificial intelligence, you can use the magic wand tool and select the background, inverse the thing, and mask it that way. So back to the mask. There we go. So how do we make this look better? Well, first of all, we're going to put it up to 100% so you can see the edges. Now, first we're going to check to see if there's any white fringe, because there's a trick on here for white fringe. There's probably a little bit. So we'll see if the trick is better. So if you've got kind of a white fringy around this, you can go into other, under filter, go into minimum, and then you can just adjust it here on the little slider. And so we're just going to adjust it a little bit, because this will adjust the mask. You have to be on the mask to do this. I was just going to adjust the mask. Just going to adjust it there 1 pixel, and that gets rid of a little of that white fringe. And if we go back out, yeah, it looks a little better, but it's still not great. So back to 100%. And first thing we're going to do, now we're going to adjust the mask. So it does look better. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to scroll way, way down here to the rather ragged little edges here, that the selection. So we want to go in, we've clicked on the mask, and we're going to go in. Okay, just a sec here. Okay. I have to make that. Yeah, okay. I have to go into full Photoshop mode here for a minute. So if you ask any questions, I'm not going to see them for a few minutes, because I gotta make sure. See down here, if you can see the little cursor down here, you need to have the foreground color and the background color set to black and white. Black conceals, white reveals. Okay. And if you want more tips and more things, I've got 2 Photoshop channels in the description that are excellent. And this is where I've learned all these tips and tricks. So we'll go into the brush. And brush is a bit big, so we'll slide it down to a smaller size. And since we're on black, we'll just get rid of that and we'll get rid of this. And see, we're masking, right? Now, I've got it on softness. So if you see, it's just going to soften the edges up here a little bit. Now, there's a little bit of some bites out of this. So we're going to turn it to white. Move the brush down a little bit more. And just see if we can get a little more white. Now, you see it's got a little fuzziness there. So if we don't want the fuzziness on the edge, we just slide the hardness slider up. Go back to black. And then, you see, it'll just give us a nice hard edge. And it's a lot easier to do that if you have a little steadier hand than mine. And we can do the same here. Get rid of that. So, funkiness. And get rid of this funkiness over here. Then there we go. Now I'm not going to do 100%. I mean, if you've got the time, you want to do better than that. But so now, so we still got a little sharpening edge and whatnot and stuff, and it still doesn't look too great. So here's a trick. Still on the mask, still on black. You just move the opacity down on the brush. And we're going to go down to 25. See what it looks like. And then you see, you just sort of, it just blends it right in. And it makes it look like a shadow. Of course, that doesn't look very good. So we'll just undo the brush tool and we'll try this again. There we go. There. Just a little bit. And I think the opacity is a bit high on that, so we'll turn it down a little more to 13. Better. Yeah, it's still a little high. So yeah, and you just fool around with it till you find the right opacity. And you adjust it. Oh, I got the hardness on. That's what's the problem. See, you got to remember to redo these things after you do them. So we'll put that back up to 25. There. Oops. See, live video, all the mistakes on display. Anyway, you just figure out the right to sort of blur. And you can also take the blur tool and do the same thing. Just sort of smear those edges into the background like that. And it just sort of sets the, and we'll fit this on screen so I can do it quickly. And you just blur the edges down like this. And she's still not setting perfectly right. But if you just blur the edges down like that, it sort of blurs it. Anyway, but as you can see, she's still not really setting right. But if you take the move tool and you just push her down a little bit, you get rid of that ugly back of the dress. And she's sitting a little better. Now, we'll just move her in a little bit and move in. Take the blur tool and just slide those edges down. And you can take opacity tool. Just take a little shadow on there. Just kind of blend her in a little bit. Like that. Just mask the blending in a little. And you can also go into the masking layer and feather it a little bit, and that helps. And just like that along the edges. And just put a little darkness in like this. And just smooth out those edges a bit. Anyway, and now we'll fit her back on screen. And you can see she fits in a little better. But she's still a little, well, sticking out a bit. So we'll go back, we'll click back on the picture instead of the mask. We'll go into the special effects, and we'll do a gradient overlay. So I've already got this set up. It's on overlay, see here? And you can do like screen or multiply if you wanted it darker. But we're going to go with overlay. And I've got a green gradient. See, they've got all sorts of neat little gradients in here. And now she kind of fits a little better into the background because she's kind of reflecting the colors around her. Anyway, so there's how to make your composites a little better. And of course, if you had more time, you'd want to do a little more details. And get it precise. But, you know, we're doing things quickly here for time. Now, okay, so we're going to turn her off for a minute, and we're going to do 2 more composites on this one before we switch over. And here we go. We're going to place embedded. Now, this is a composite, sort of an overlay figure composite. So we're going to put him in, right? And I'm going to have to go back to full screen here for a minute. And I'm going to just size him up and size him up all the way until he covers the picture. Okay, and now we're going to, because we want him on the other side, so we're going to go into transform and, you know, and flip him horizontal. So he's over here. And again, we're going to do the quick selection, do the select subject, and you'd have to mask this manually in GIMP. And if you're doing the overlays, and you can see here, he's not quite all the way to where we want him. So we're going to go up here and click the little plus button tool and just move the mask down so that it goes right where we want it. There. And then we're going to mask him. Now, as I was saying, if you wanted to do, say, like the gradient overlay here, I did in GIMP, you can actually do that in GIMP. You'd probably have to do it as another layer, but there are tricks and things you can do in GIMP to do color overlays as well. Now, yeah, see there, he's so now you've got, instead of the woman, you've got what the heck? I must have accidentally clicked something there with that little box. Anyway, so you've got the man, and you've got a whole different picture, a whole different cover setup. So you can use backgrounds for different things as well. This one could be like I was fooling around practicing. I named this in the practice as Spies in Fairyland. So, but it's kind of like black on green, and you know, So you might want to do another gradient overlay here as well to match him up a little more. So he's now kind of greenish. Now, so that's where you can do a whole picture over a picture and get something like this. And now we're going to do kind of a face in the window sort of style picture. If I can find there's the face. So here we go. So we're going to put her face, we're going to make it a little bigger, and we're going to put her face right about there. And now we want to get rid of most of that picture, so we're going to mask, but that's not going to go very well in the select subject because of the dark. It's not a lot of contrast. You might be able to get some of it. So basically we're going to do this one manual. So I'm going to drop the opacity down on this so we can see the window part. It would help if I meant to move. And so we're going to move her about approximately where we want the eyes, where the window is. Move it up a little bit so she's right sized. Okay. And now we're just going to add a mask. Go to the brush. Make the brush a little bigger. And just take out, oops, better push the opacity back up or we're not going to see a thing. And we're just going to take out all that. Now you have to be careful when you're doing this. Just a little, just get what you want and remove everything else. Like that. Just quick. Now, because it's so dark on dark, if you want to make sure you've got all the picture, just click off the background layer there and get rid of the rest of that. And so all you've got is her face peeking out from the window. And now you can move the opacity back up if you want a full face. And you can go, if you don't like that, like it's too strident, so you can go into the blend modes. And so there's overlay, lighter color, linear dodge, color dodge. These are on GIMP too. So screen's nice. Lighten is pretty good. There's multiply if you want it darker, darken. So you just play with these and find the one you like best. So I think we'll go with screen. And so there, you've got a face in the window effect now. And that was pretty easy. Yeah, blend modes, they're right up here. And basically what the blend mold is, that's normal. See, I did it again, mold. Okay, I cannot talk today. Normal, that's your basic picture. And that one's dissolved. That just sort of makes little pixely things. Multiply takes away all the light colors. It basically makes the picture darker. And screen, and those ones take away all the dark things and make the picture lighter. And there's various other things. And like the two Photoshop channels that I have linked in the description on both Facebook and YouTube, they have way better explanations and video tutorials and stuff. So I definitely recommend checking those out. I also have some of my favorite videos linked in my art playlist on my channel that you want to check out, both GIMP and Photoshop. Okay. So that's basically what the tips I have for this. Now we're going to go on to genres. Now we're going to do a cozy mystery cover here. Ooh. Anyway, and I want to do a couple of things, talk about a couple of things before we go, because in Photoshop, you can convert things to a smart object, and that means anything you do to it will, you can work non-destructively. Like, you can turn it on and off and stuff like that. Anyway, we'll get into the composite, to the smart object in the next photo. Anyway, so now we're doing cozy mystery cover. So we're going to place our embedded. Where is it? Oh, there we go. So here we go. Place the embedded. Now this one is a it looks about good size there. We'll stick her about here. So this is a ping or PNG or whatever you call it, and it's already got a transparent background, so we don't even have to mask it. So that's good. But you know, it looks kind of out of place, right? Because the background and the figure, they're almost right, but not quite. So we're going to go into the layer here, and we're going to go up to filter, and I believe GIMP has some similar ink sketchy things that you can use. And we're going to go into filter gallery, and we'll just sit down so you can see it a little. And we're going to go not into brush strokes. Where are we? Poster edges. So we're going to go into poster edges, and we see you're getting that kind of black inky outline that the figure has. So there, and see, now we've kind of matched them. So there you go. But it's nice, but it doesn't look necessarily like a cozy mystery, does it? So we're going to add a little something extra. A couple of something extras, actually. Good old-fashioned kitchen knife. Anyway, so we're going to size that down to about, so we got slightly proportionally thing, and we're going to it vertically, and we're going to rotate it a little bit. There we go. Move it into place right about here. Oh, it's a little big still. There we go. And we're going to shrink it down. And Photoshop is going to give me all sorts of trouble. So that's fun. And now we're going to go into 100% so we can get a better look at it. So I'm going to move it into place because Photoshop was a pain. Still a bit big. There we go. Now, of course, it doesn't look good because her fingers are in front. She's not holding it. So go into cartoon. And hopefully this works. And go into the mask. Put a little mask on for the cartoon. Shrink the. Hopefully I got this right. Yeah, and then we're just going to get rid of her fingers. So it looks like she's holding the knife. And of course you'd adjust. Perfect. So it looks like she's holding the knife. Anyway, and then we'll go back to fit on screen. And now it looks like she's holding a knife. A little more murder mystery. And you can add, and I've got some brushes here. Oops, get the brushes. There we go. Now I've made some brushes, some blood spatter brushes, custom ones. So I'm just going to get a little here, just a little side, and we're just going to put a little tiny bit of a blood stain right there. So Now it looks a little more like a cozy mystery or a homicidal lunatic, one of the two. Anyway, so there you've got your cozy mystery cover. And now we're going to go into thriller covers. Now, we've got an alley here, and I've got another picture coming to place on embedded here. Where is it? I'll find it. Oh, here we go. So this is when you have a picture, right? This picture. It's, whoops, needs to be adjusted a little bit there. It's almost, okay, my Photoshop has decided to be a pain. Just give it a sec. The cat did it. Yeah, the cat did it. Oh dear, Photoshop is done crashed. Oh dear. Okay, so we've had a technical difficulty because Photoshop crashed on me. So just give me 1 second while I reload it. So I will talk about a few things, hopefully, while Photoshop reloads. Yeah. The wonders of technology. Yeah, I used to break my GIMP too, Rebecca. And the one thing about GIMP is it's very, very slow if you're working with large images. So I had to sit and wait 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 and wait. But another tip, if you're using Photoshop, and if this one works on GIMP too, is to work in duplicate layers. So if you've got your background picture, make a duplicate layer and work on the duplicate layer. And that way, if you screw something up, you still have your original background layer. I'll show you that in a minute if I can. Oh, here we go. It's all reloaded. And that's the wonderful thing about Photoshop. If it does crash, it will reload. And I'm going to have to share screen again. Just give me a minute. Okay. All right, there we go. We're back. Okay, it does reload your files back most of the time. So now we'll go back to place embedded. And where was I? Oh, yeah. So, like I said, I have this nice tunnel picture here. But it's nice, but, I wanted a little more little grungy, maybe a little more realism on that. So we just do a little mask again. And brush. Oops, we need the better brush. Size it down a bit. And then we'll just, oops, opacity's still down. There we go. And then we'll just take it, put a little, okay, I'm going to have to view this out 100% because I accidentally the guitar there. So that's the one good thing about the mask. If you accidentally do something, you can. So we just put a little street in here. And give the tunnel a little, whoops, oh, white there, not black. And we give the tunnel a little city grunge. And I'm not going to bother with it too much there because, okay. And we're going to go back here and we're going to give the street a little bit of grunge too. So we're going to drop the opacity down because we don't want full street out, just a little, just gray it up a little bit. And darken it up here a little bit. Oops. Oh, like that. Maybe darken up here a bit. Okay. Now we're going to zoom out. So that's not too bad, but maybe the color's off a little bit. Right? Maybe it's a little too blue. Maybe you want it a little darker. So we're going to go up here. Now, in GIMP, you can probably do this again with color overlays, Gimmick, various other downloads and plugins. But in Photoshop, we're going to go into Camera Raw Filter. If it decides to load. Oh, here we go. Okay, and see, you can just fiddle. I think you can, in GIMP, I think you've got different color things you can fiddle with too. So there are various things, and you can make it a little more blue maybe. Dump up the red, make it a little purple. Maybe you don't want it quite so bright, so we're just going to drop the exposure down. Push the contrast up maybe. Maybe not. Don't like that. So push the contrast down a little bit. Push the highlights down a little so they're not quite so white. Deepen the shadows. The black's a little blacker. Right up the whites a bit. So you've got kind of a dark. Now, you see this. And we're going to press OK here. And yeah, but the figure is looking kind of all black now, and it's a little hard to distinguish. So we're going to go back into Camera Raw Filter. And we're going to click the brush, the adjustment brush. And it's good. Yeah, size is 3, so we're going to, good. Okay, so we're going to click on him, and then we're just going to push the exposure up a little bit, like that. So we're going to push a little light. It'll be over here. A little light on the head. So you can see a little, and then we can maybe push the color down a little bit because it will only affect the brush now. Maybe make it a little yellow. And make it a little whiter maybe. Put a little more black in it. Oops, a little too much. There, a little black. So he's got a little contrast and a little shadowing there now on the figure. And we'll press OK. And there you go. And of course, I didn't do the guitar thing, which is something I also didn't do in the practice session. But anyway, you get the idea. So, and we're going to fit on the screen here so you can see it. So now it looks a little more maybe thriller and stuff as well. Now, there's also another trick. Say you wanted another blood stain or another stain trailing behind him. Now, if you take that, oops, just a sec here. Take that and go back to blood stain. Oops, that's not blood stain. There we go. Something's going wrong here. The blood spatter. Okay, so we do. Oh, I'm on this. It's a smart filter. Okay. Okay, we're gonna rasterize the. Yeah, one of the. Make that not a smart filter. So now we're going to adjust. Now on Photoshop, you can actually move the brushes around with the arrow keys now, which is fun. And we'll just sit down. Now, but see now, if you're going to do this, right? And you're going to it's going to, whoops. Oh, I still have the opacity at 17. Okay, that's not good. It's not going to look good if you just do that. But there is a neat little trick. Now, we're going to go and we're going to we're going to undo that. We're going to make another layer. 2 more layers, actually. And then we're going to go here and we're going to go into filter and we're going to go into vanishing point. Now, what we're going to do here is we're going to make a little box that follows the contour of the street. So we're going to try and make a little box that follows the contour of the street. Okay, have to adjust it a little bit there. Okay, well, that's not too bad. So we'll leave that. Okay, so there. And then we're going to go into this layer and we're going to put our blood stain down. And then we're going to press Control, Alt, C, which will copy the layer, and D, which will deselect everything. Now we're going to turn that layer off, go into the second layer we created, go back under Filter into Vanishing Point, and we're going to press Control V, paste the layer, and then we're going to move it down and right into that box, and there we go. And we got a blood stain that is actually on the street. Now you can press Control T before you put it in there and transform it, make it smaller or fit better or whatever. But then we're not going to bother with that. So we're just going to press OK. And now you see you've got a blood stain that's actually on the street behind him. And of course it cuts off a little bit here, so you can go to the eraser key, take your brush and just make it a little spotty here and there. A couple little stains if you want. Don't like that. And tweak it up. So there. So there's your thriller cover. Yeah, it's a happy little blood spatter. You know me. Okay, so and you can do the same thing like this cover. I did this. This is a cover. Now I'm not going to do that because basically I did the same thing with the blood spatter that I just did to make this. But I'm going to load up what I did with it. Go. Here we go. So there we go. That's the original picture I did. And I used the vanishing point. Where did it go? To create the blood spatter. We'll take my name off there. To create the blood spatter on there and create and give it a little pizzazz there. And I also added some. So that's what you can do with vanishing point and other things like that. Okay, so now we're going to go. So say you've got a picture like this. You really like this picture, but if you look at it closely, the picture part is okay. But if you look at it closely, scroll up, you can see the face on the figure is, well, not 100%. It's nice, but it kind of looks a bit like a doll. So you want to tweak it just a little bit. Not too much, but a little bit. So we'll put it back onto fit on screen. So say you want to make it look kind of like old-timey lithograph sort of photo-y thing. So first of all, we're going to convert this to a smart object because this way you can see the layers and stuff. So here we go. We're going to go into filter gallery and we're going to do this twice. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to go into cutout. And this is the effect we're going to get. Oops, sorry. I think I did this wrong. Just wait a minute. Yeah, okay. Yeah. No, okay, I did this wrong. Sorry. All right, just a minute. Okay. Okay, so we have to, this is the duplicate layer. This is why we duplicate layers. Okay, there we go. And we're going to duplicate it again because we're doing this twice. Okay, so, all right, so we have the first layer. And then this layers, we're going to go into filter, gallery, and into cutout. So now we're going to, there. So you might like this, and if you don't like that particular version, you can adjust it on the, make it a little lighter, make a little more detail on it, a little darker. Again, you can make edges, and you can adjust it like that, or whatnot. Anyway, so we'll leave it at that. And so, and then we can do, we go back to the blend mode, or multiply, we want a little darker. And so you get a little bit of a different, different sort of overlay on that. And then we'll go in here, we'll do another filter gallery. And you can do a whole bunch of these. And this one, we'll go back to poster edges. And then we'll do a little dark on that, lighten, screen, overlay. Pin light. Okay, no, it wasn't. Oops, sorry. I think I did the wrong one here. So we clear the smart filters. We'll go back in. We want brush strokes, ink outlines. That's what we wanted. There we go. And okay, I'm definitely not getting the same effects I was getting in the practice mode. So something went wrong here. But anyway, you get the idea. You can do different filters. Maybe we just the opacity down a little bit. Or move it. There. That's not too bad. So you can fiddle around with filters and layers and make different kind of sketch effects and things like that. And I'll show you the one I did in practice because it was a lot better than that. Whoops, that's nice. There we go. See, that's what I did in practice. So, yeah. That's the original photo. And there's the one I did in practice. So basically, you can tweak these things with the filters and the things, and it's basically just trial and error. Now, so that's just the tips and tricks that you have for doing this stuff. And it's not too difficult. So now we're going to do fonts because we've been on for an hour, so we're going to wrap this up. Now, this is the one thing I find that people get wrong most most often is fonts. And because they either go too simple or they go too fancy, and you don't want either one. You want to match your font to your genre, to the cover, but you don't want to go overly fancy. You don't want, say, we'll go into fonts here. Where's the font? There we go. And we'll go into one of the ones I have, the really fussy things. I can find one here. La la la. Come on. Okay, we'll do Jokerman here. So you don't want, say, give it a Fairyland title. You don't want a obviously comedic font on something that has a grim guy and a grim woman sticking out the window. I mean, that's just not going to work. And you don't want and you equally don't want some kind of modern-y type font. Well, that's not too bad, but you get the idea. You want something that's kind of fantasy. Something like that. Fantasy related. But you don't want something that's going to be too overly swashy or I see a lot of those Gothic. If I can find one here, I know I've got some on here for just for fun stuff. I think it's down. Oh yeah, here we go. That old English text. You don't want that because, and the reason why you don't want that, even if it fits with the story, is because that is hard to read, especially when you zoom it out. You want something legible when you zoom out because you are going to have smaller images on the line and whatnot, and you really don't want something that isn't going to be legible. So you want something that's nice, and you also want something that's pretty blocky, really. I mean, because the thin fonts like this one. I'm going to go Fairyland again. I mean, they kind of fade out too when you go down to smaller things. So you really don't want thin, and you really don't want too fancy, and you want something that's going to fit your thing. Let's try this. Okay, so let's try. We'll go back up. No, that's not too bad. It's blocky. It's kind of sinister and might fit the story. But if you're over here, that's definitely maybe historical fantasy. So you'd maybe want something like we'll go mystery, and you'll have to get the right size. You also have to size it, like put it on the page. There we go. Something like that, maybe. Anyway, and placement of font. Okay, now we're going to talk about placement of font, and we'll go back over here to palette. This one here, and take him off. No, that was her. Take him off, and we'll put her back on. Now, when you're making your cover, you want to think about composition and design. Your cover, you want to have all the eye drawn into the cover, and you want the eyes drawn in towards the center of your cover. So you don't want to have her sticking out way over here or way over here, right? You want her closer to the center. And the same with the fonts. You want them kind of pulling into the center. You don't want them sticking out over here unless you're kind of dragging everything in. Like say you've got, we'll go put another one up here. See. We'll go. The one here. Oops. Here, the fight for, and so like if you want to drag them like a kind of a ladder style, so it's the fight fairyland, right? So it's still pulling you in towards the center diagonally, or you could center them a little more. Like, oops, I accidentally rotated it. Ooh, fun. And don't be afraid to off-center your fonts like that. Like even in GIMP, you can do 2 or 3 different layers with different words and things and adjust them. And you know, with this, and you can also in Photoshop, you can also do gradient overlays on the you see you can do gradient overlays on the fonts, so you can make them a little interesting, or you can maybe make it multiply. I don't know if that's going to do anything. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. That makes it a little lighter. And also in Photoshop, you can do cool things. We'll go into with styles. They've got a lot of preset things here, text effects and other things. So you can just go and do things like this. And the good thing about this is even if you don't like, say, the coloring or different things in it, you can go in. We'll just find something here. You can go into the effects listed here on the side and adjust the effects. So say we didn't like the pillow emboss and we want outer bevel instead. We get that, and we inner bevel or stroke emboss. Or we can make it dark more, or we can put the size up and do that, which is terrible. Or soften it. And so you can adjust these things and add things. And like with this one, you could go in and you can add a stroke to it. So you make it, give it a little thing like that if you want, or you can put a shadow or whatever. So there are things you can do even in GIMP. You can do things with the font and different and make it cool. Okay, and now I'm going to show you a little trick, because the one thing you want to do is you don't want to necessarily turn that off. No. You don't want to necessarily go with the first thing. You want to play with your ideas and whatnot. So in Photoshop, if you are also part of the Adobe stock photos, yeah, and you can get fonts. I use 1,000 fonts. I think it's 1,000 fonts. Just let me check here. Yeah, 1,001 1001 fonts is a good source for free fonts that are good for commercial use. That's another thing I want to talk. When you're using fonts, make sure your fonts are licensed for commercial use. Free for commercial use. Commercial. Okay, cannot talk today. So, okay, now we're going to show. Yeah, okay. So if you're part of the Adobe Stock Photos and you're using Photoshop, you can go into libraries. And we're waiting for it to load. Fun stuff. Where are my libraries? Okay, my library's not loading. Oh, fun. Okay, here we go. Is it? Finally? Yeah, there we go. Oh, something went wrong. Initializing Creative Crowd Library. Oh, here we go. Okay. So we don't want shapes. We want, okay, so I'm going to go into fantasy. No, we'll go into horror since we have the thriller one. We'll go into horror. So, and you want to add something to this picture, say. So we'll just go in, scroll through the libraries till we find something good. Okay, so we're gonna add the creepy guy to the doorway here. So we can just pull the picture, right? And this isn't a licensed photograph. This is just something I have stored in the library for future possible licensing. We can pull it right into the thing and we can adjust it. And then we can and we'll just overlay it here. No, well, screen it there. So we can see, does it look good? You can put a mask on there. Just get rid of that. You know, does it look good having this other guy? So you can kind of preview without actually purchasing the picture, which I'm pulling at my headphones, which I like. So yeah, so that's a cool thing about Photoshop and Adobe Stock Photos, that you can actually do like composite previews to see if what looks good and what doesn't. So we don't want that. So we'll just delete that layer. And there we go. So, and okay, so that's basically all the tips and tricks I had for today. So we're going to close down Adobe here. Go back to. Okay, temporarily removed. Yeah, 1001 fonts.com. I think it's .com. Anyway, yeah, I accidentally removed myself from the stream there for a minute. So if I blacked out, that's why. So has anybody got any questions before I wrap this up? Okay, so I hope you found the tips and tricks useful. And I hope I didn't ramble too much. And I managed to break Photoshop once. But I don't think I broke the internet, so that's helpful. Anyway, so yeah, we'll wrap it up because we've been on here for about an hour and 10 minutes. So I will see you guys on the weekend, actually. I've got 2 book chats lined up for Saturday and Sunday. So with one of them is with the first one's with Tricia Copeland. She's a romance and fantasy author. And the second one is with Caitlin Russell. I think she kind of writes dark horror fiction type stuff. So yes, I am going to do a similar one on GIMP. But GIMP is on, if you can see that behind me there, that's my old computer system. GIMP is still on the old computer system, so I have to do it over there and boot it up. So I may not get. Yeah, actually, I made that blood spatter paintbrush in Photoshop. I'm not sure if you can make them in GIMP. I think you can. I'm not sure how though, but I think they do have spatter. They have a lot of downloading brushes you can download to GIMP. So just Google blood spatter paintbrush for GIMP, and you might find one. I know I found a lot of different weird things for GIMP doing that. Anyway, but as I was saying, it's on the old computer GIMP, so I have to do the tutorial from that. So I'm not sure when I'm going to get to it, but it may not be till next month, because I got a lot of book chats this month for the Indie Fantasy Addicts group in Facebook is having a big party this month. And I'll be doing some book chats for that, but they'll be having a lot of giveaways and games and stuff. So if you are interested in fantasy books, you should definitely go over there this month and check that out. Anyway, so I'm going to wrap it up. See you guys. Hope you all had fun. And that's it for today. Bye.